You arrived early at the Nexus simulation grounds, determined to set up the monitoring equipment before he showed up. The last thing you needed was him breathing down your neck while you worked. As you knelt to adjust a sensor, you heard the telltale stomping of boots approaching. Great. There goes that idea. Oi, nerd. You better have this shit ready to go, Dynamite's gruff voice called out. You didn't bother looking up. Good morning to you too. A scoff was his only response as he moved past you to start his warm-up routine. You tried to focus on the calibrations, but your eyes kept wandering to the pro hero. It was infuriating how good he looked, all lean muscle and raw power as he stretched and flexed. Take a picture, it'll last longer, Dynamite sneered, catching you mid-glance. Heat rushed to your cheeks. Please, I'm just making sure the equipment is tracking your movements correctly. He smirked, clearly not buying your excuse. Sure, if that's what you need to tell yourself. You rolled your eyes and turned back to your work, determined to ignore him. But as he began his more intense warm-ups, the sound of small explosions punctuating each movement, you found it increasingly difficult to concentrate. You tried to focus on the equipment, you really did. But your eyes kept drifting back to Dynamite as he warmed up. The way his muscles flexed and rippled with each movement was mesmerizing. You stared at his broad back, tracing the lines of his shoulders with your gaze. His hero costume left little to the imagination. It clung to every curve, plane, and crevice of his body. You bit your lip, imagining what it would feel like to run your hands over that sculpted chest, to dig your fingers into those powerful shoulders. A bead of sweat trickled down his neck, disappearing beneath his collar. You swallowed hard, your mouth suddenly dry. The urge to taste his skin, to trace that droplet with your tongue, was almost too much. Enjoying the show, nerd? Dynamite's gruff voice snapped you out of your daze. You blinked, realizing you'd been caught red-handed ogling him. Heat rushed to your cheeks, but you refused to let him see how flustered you were. Don't flatter yourself, you shot back, forcing yourself to look away. I was just making sure the sensors were picking up your movements correctly. He snorted, clearly not buying your excuse. Right, 'cause the sensors are on my ass, huh? You rolled your eyes, trying to ignore the way your heart raced. Please, as if I'd waste my time staring at an egomaniac like you. Keep telling yourself that, sweetheart, he smirked, stretching his arms above his head. The movement made his abs ripple, and you had to bite back a whimper. If you want an autograph, all you gotta do is ask. I'd rather eat glass, you retorted, even as your traitorous eyes drank in the sight of him. And don't call me that. You glanced around as if you had just kicked a sick puppy and hoped no one saw. Dynamite's smirk widened. Careful, nerd. You keep looking at me like that, and I might start to think you actually like me. Huh, only in your dreams, that is if your ego even lets you dream of other people. You scoffed, turning back to your equipment. Oh, trust me, he drawled, his voice dropping to a low, husky tone that did unwanted things to you. You don't want to know what happens in my dreams. The implication in his words made your core clench with want. You gritted your teeth. Can we please just get on with the simulation? Some of us have actual work to do. What's the matter, sweetheart? Am I making you nervous? He took a step closer, invading your personal space. You could feel the heat radiating off his body, smell the faint scent of smoke and burned sugar. It made your head spin and panties wet. You wish, you managed to say, proud that your voice didn't waver. The only thing making me nervous is how long this is taking. Are you always this slow to get started, or is it just for me? His glared at you, a dangerous glint in them that made your pulse quicken. Trust me, nerd, he growled, leaning in close enough that his breath ghosted over your ear. When I get started, you'll know it. Oh, please, you retorted, rolling your eyes. You stopped when you heard someone coming closer. Kuroda came up from behind you, his eyebrows raised as he glanced between you and Dynamite. Everything all right here? He asked cautiously. Just peachy, you replied. Dynamite here was just being his usual self. Dynamite's eyes flared. Watch it, nerd. You're treading on thin ice. You tensed as Kuroda's hand squeezed your shoulder. He leaned in close, his breath tickling your ear as he whispered. Are you okay? Do you need me to intervene? The tension in the air shifted, becoming thick and dangerous. Dynamite sneered, his jaw clenching as he glared at Kuroda. The look on his face was nothing short of murderous, his hands curling into fists at his sides. Sparks danced across his palms. I'm fine, you answered, shrugging off Kuroda's hand. The last thing you needed was Dynamite blowing up the sim room because he thought you couldn't handle yourself. The tense moment was shattered by Rika's crisp voice cutting through the air. Is everything ready to go? She asked, striding into the room with purpose. We're on a tight schedule today. You nodded. All set, just waiting on Dynamite. Rika turned to the hero, her tone shifting to something almost reverent. Dynamite, it's an honor to have you testing our latest designs. I trust everything is to your liking so far. As Rika fawned over the surly pro hero, more of your co-workers began filtering into the observation area. You caught snippets of excited whispers, no doubt thrilled to see the number 2 hero in action in front row. The pro hero's expression darkened, his jaw clenching as Rika continued to inflate his already enormous ego. His crimson eyes flicked towards you. God, he looked like he was seconds away from murdering your boss. Oi, enough with the ass-kissing. Dynamite finally snapped, cutting Rika off mid-sentence. I'm here to test the damn gauntlets, not listen to this crap. Rika's smile faltered, but she quickly recovered. Of course, Dynamite. We're all eager to see the gauntlets in action. Dynamite grunted, then jerked his chin in your direction. Oi, nerd. Get over here and adjust these things. They feel off. You bit back a retort. 1, because this was your job, and 2, because your boss was watching you like a hawk. As you approached, you noticed the curious murmurs from your co-workers, their eyes fixed on the interaction between you and the explosive hero. What seems to be the problem? You asked in your most professional voice as you reached for his arm. They're too tight, he grumbled, holding out his arms. Can't move my wrists properly. You nodded and began to loosen the straps. The heat radiating from his skin was impossible to ignore as your fingers brushed against his forearms. You swallowed hard. How's that? You asked, adjusting one gauntlet. Dynamite flexed his wrist, frowning. Better, but now it's too loose on the left. You sighed, moving to his other arm. Shit, he was standing so close. His breath tickled your ear, sending an involuntary shiver down your spine. Cold, nerd, he muttered, his voice low enough that only you could hear. You glared up at him, your face uncomfortably warm. I'm fine. Just hold still. The whispers from your co-workers grew more insistent as you continued to fiddle with the gauntlets. You caught snippets of their conversation. Speculation about your relationship with Dynamite, comments on the tension between you. Ignore them, Dynamite growled, his eyes darting to your colleagues. If looks could kill, Nexus would be out of half their workforce by now. Bunch of nosy extras. You snorted, surprised by the almost protective tone in his voice. What's the matter, Dynamite? Worried about your reputation? As if. I just don't want them distracting you while you're working on my gear. I need this shit to be perfect. Right, you drawled, giving the final strap a tug. There. How does that feel? Dynamite flexed both wrists. His lips twitched. Not bad, nerd. Might make a decent support tech out of you yet. Gee, thanks. Your praise means everything to me. He smirked, leaning in close enough that his lips nearly brushed your ear. Careful, nerd. Keep talking like that, and people might think you actually like me. Before you could formulate a suitably scathing response, Rika's voice cut through the tension. If we're all set, let's begin the test. As the pro-hero took his position, you retreated to your monitoring station, trying to ignore the whispers and excited murmurs from the crowd. All right, Dynamite, you called out, your finger hovering over the start button. Show us what you've got. He crouched into a ready stance, his crimson scanning the field. The air crackled with anticipation, and you could practically feel the energy radiating off him. This was it. The final test. Your stomach nodded uncomfortably. Starting with basic maneuvers, you called out. Commence on my mark. Dynamite gave a curt nod, his muscles tensing. You took a deep breath and hit the start button. Begin. The pro-hero exploded into action, quite literally. He launched himself into the air with a controlled blast from his palms, the new gauntlets glowing faintly as they channeled his quirk. Your eyes were fixed to him, calling out readings as they appeared on your monitor. Initial propulsion at 65% capacity, you announced, your eyes darting between Dynamite and the data streaming across your screen. Gauntlet integrity holding steady. He landed like the pro he was, immediately pivoting into a series of rapid-fire blasts. The simulation room came alive, holographic targets materializing and disappearing in quick succession. Each explosion hit its mark with pinpoint accuracy. Rapid-fire output averaging 72% efficiency, you reported. Damn, he was really good. Yet again, he wasn't the top 2 for nothing. Reaction time 0.3 seconds faster than previous trials. You caught a flash of a smirk on Dynamite's face as he continued his assault. It was infuriating how effortlessly he moved, each action flowing seamlessly into the next. You forced yourself to focus on the data, not on the way his muscles flexed with each blast. All right, Dynamite, you shouted. Let's kick it up a notch. Increasing target speed and density by 25%. His grin turned feral. Bring it on, nerd. The simulation shifted, targets appearing and disappearing more rapidly, their movements becoming more erratic. He adapted instantly, his explosions growing in intensity as he pushed himself harder. Power output increasing, you noted, your fingers flying across the keyboard as you adjusted parameters. Now at 85% capacity. Gauntlet temperature rising but still within acceptable range. Sweat began to bead on Dynamite's forehead as he twisted and turned, unleashing a barrage of blasts that shook the room. He was amazing. His stamina and control were out of this world. Each explosion was precisely calculated, never wasting an ounce of power. Impressive, you whispered into the audio piece. What was that, nerd? Dynamite called out between blasts, his cocky grin widening. Didn't quite catch it. You blushed. Why couldn't you keep your mouth shut? Of course, he'd heard you. I said the data is impressive. You shot back, trying to cover your slip. Don't let it go to your head. He laughed. Too late for that. As the test continued, you gradually increased the difficulty, pushing Dynamite to his limits. The air grew thick with the scent of nitroglycerin and sweat, the temperature in the room rising steadily. Gauntlet temperature approaching upper limits, you warned, your brow furrowing as you studied the readouts. Maybe we should. Don't you dare stop now. Dynamite snarled, his eyes blazing with determination. I can take it. You hesitated, torn between professional caution and the raw intensity of his determination. Against your better judgment, you nodded. All right, but I'm monitoring closely. Any sign of overload and we're shutting it down. Whatever, he grunted, already refocusing on the increasingly challenging targets. The next few minutes were a blur of explosions and data. Dynamite pushed himself harder and harder, his movements becoming a deadly dance of precision and power. You held your breath. It was mesmerizing watching him. Holy shit, you heard Kuroda mutter beside you. He's really something else, isn't he? You nodded, watching the number 2 hero fly across the simulation, a feral grin plastered on his face. You felt your chest tightened, and you brought a hand over your heart. Yeah, he is. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Bakuga's feral grin stretched wider as he launched himself into the air, propelled by a massive explosion from his palms. The testing ground below him blurred into a mess of concrete and steel as he rocketed upward. This was more fucking like it. Fuck yeah, he roared, relishing the raw force coursing through his arms. The new gauntlets hummed with power, perfectly in sync with his quirk. He could feel the difference, smoother ignition, tighter control, bigger blasts. This was what he'd been waiting for. No more misfires, no more weak-ass pops. Just pure, unadulterated carnage. That damn nerd had actually pulled it off. Bakuga's eyes locked onto a target, imagining that four-eyed loser's smug face. The one who dared to touch his nerd. His palms itched, nitroglycerin sweat beading on his skin. With a feral grin, he unleashed a devastating blast. The hologram shattered, but in his mind's eye, he saw that bastard flying across the room. Fuck off, he snarled, following up with a barrage of smaller explosions. Each detonation fed the rage burning in his chest. How dare that extra get so close to her? The memory of the guy's hand on her shoulder made his blood boil. Bakuga locked onto his next target. A massive steel beam suspended high above the ground, meant to simulate a falling building. Time to show these extras what real power looked like. He twisted in midair, using smaller explosions to adjust his trajectory. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of movement. The nerd was there, tablet in hand, scribbling away as she watched. Good. Let her see what real power looked like. He felt a surge pride, excitement, the need to show off. Fuck it, whatever it was, it fueled him. His lip curled. Time to really show off. Bakuga's palms tingled, nitroglycerin sweat building to critical levels. He'd been holding back, saving the big finale for last. Now it was time to let loose. Howitzer, he growled, spinning faster and faster. The world became a dizzying blur of color and motion. But he kept his focus laser-sharp on that steel beam. This was the moment of truth. If those gauntlets could handle this, they could handle anything. Impact! The explosion that erupted from his hands was earth-shattering. A blinding flash of light and heat that sent shockwaves rippling through the air. Bakuga felt the recoil slam through his body, but the gauntlets absorbed most of it. No sprains, no broken bones. Another improvement. He rocketed towards the beam like a human missile. At the last possible second, he brought both hands forward and unleashed everything he had left. The resulting blast was deafening. Metal screamed and warped under the onslaught. Bakuga caught a brief glimpse of the beam disintegrating into molten shrapnel before the force of the explosion sent him hurtling backward. He tucked and rolled as he hit the ground, coming up in a crouch. Dust and debris rained down around him, but Bakuga's eyes were fixed on the sky. Where the beam had been, there was nothing but a rapidly dissipating cloud of smoke. Fuck yes. Slowly, deliberately, Bakuga rose to his feet. He could feel the eyes of the support team on him, could practically taste their awe. But there was only one person whose reaction he cared about. He turned, locking eyes with the nerd across the field. Her mouth was hanging open, tablet forgotten in her slack grip. For once, she seemed to be at a loss for words. Bakuga's grin turned predatory. So, he called out, voice rough from exertion. That good enough for you, or do I need to blow up something bigger? The nerd shook her head, a beaming smile spreading across her face. Something in his chest squeezed. He told himself it was just the adrenaline, the thrill of a successful test. Nothing more. Applause erupted from the gathered onlookers. Techs and support staff were clapping and cheering. Bakuga barely registered them. His eyes were locked on the nerd, drinking in her reaction. He smiled, taking in the destruction around him. But it wasn't the devastation that made his heart race. It was her smile. That brilliant, beaming grin lighting up her face as she stared at him in awe. Fuck, When did her smile become so important? He wanted to see it again, to be the cause of it, to make her look at him like that, eyes shining with admiration, just for him. The realization hit him like one of his own explosions. This wasn't about the gauntlets anymore. It was about her. About making her smile, making her proud. He was so fucked. Bakuga's heart picked up as she approached, her face lit up with that brilliant fucking smile. Shit, was she going to hug him? The thought sent an unexpected thrill through his body. He tensed, ready to feel her arms around him, to breathe in her scent. But she stopped short, maintaining a professional distance. Disappointment crashed over him like a bucket of ice water. What the fuck? Since when did he want her to touch him? That was impressive, she marveled. The calibrations held up perfectly. Bakuga's jaw clenched, irritation bubbling up in his chest. Why the fuck hadn't she hugged him? He'd just pulled off the most impressive display of his quirk yet, and she was keeping her distance like some timid extra. The gauntlets performed exceptionally well, she gushed, her eyes bright with excitement. The power output was beyond our projections and the heat dissipation. TCH, Bakuga cut her off, his temper flaring. He didn't give a shit about the fucking gauntlets. That all you got to say, nerd? I just blew up half the fucking room. He wanted her praise, damn it. Wanted to hear her say how amazing he was, not his stupid gear. What do? The brat was interrupted. Dynamite. That was incredible. One of the Nexus workers called out, rushing over. The way you controlled those explosions, I've never seen anything like it. The gauntlets performed beyond our wildest expectations, another chimed in. The blast radius, the precision, it's a quantum leap forward in support gear technology. Bakuga's eye twitched. The fuck was this extra talking about? It wasn't their wildest expectations. It wasn't their quantum leap forward. It was all her. His nerd. The fuck you mean our? Bakuga snarled, rounding on the Nexus worker. His palms crackled. You didn't do shit. This was all her. He jerked his chin towards the nerd, who was staring at him with wide eyes. The Nexus worker froze, color draining from his face as he realized his mistake. Good. Let the extra squirm. I just meant, as a company. The man stammered, taking a step back. Bullshit, Bakuga spat. You're trying to take credit for her work. Fucking pathetic. He turned to the nerd, expecting to see gratitude in her eyes. Instead, she looked uncomfortable. The fuck? It was a team effort, Dynamite, she said, her voice placating. Everyone here contributed in some way. Bakuga's temper flared. Why the fuck was she defending these extras? Don't give me that crap, he growled, stepping closer to her. I saw you working your ass off on these gauntlets. These idiots didn't do shit compared to you. Her cheeks flushed. Yeah, that's right. He'd noticed. You don't need to stick up for these losers, he continued, his voice low enough that only she could hear. Own your fucking accomplishments. She bit her lip, looking torn. Bakuga's eyes fixed on the movement, heat coiling in his gut. Fuck, he wanted to bite that lip himself. I appreciate that, Dynamite, she finally said, meeting his gaze. But I couldn't have done it without the resources and support of Nexus. Bakuga scoffed. Whatever. Just don't let these extras take credit for your work. You're better than that. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Shit. Since when did he give a fuck about boosting her confidence? Fuck. He was in deep. Bakuga's chest felt tight, his skin too hot. What the fuck was happening to him? This wasn't right. He didn't get flustered over some support nerd. He didn't give a shit about her smile, or her fucking accomplishments. Except he did. And it pissed him off. He needed to get out of here. Now. I'm out, he growled, turning on his heel. Got better shit to do than stand around jerking off over some gauntlets. He caught a glimpse of her face falling, disappointment flashing in her eyes. Fuck. Why did that bother him so much? Wait. Her hand caught his wrist. Don't you want to go over the data? We need to analyze the test results. Bakuga's eyes fixed on where she touched him, her small hand wrapped around his wrist. His pulse quickened, heat coiling in his gut. He wanted to grab her, pin her against the wall, and show her exactly what she did to him. No. Fuck no. He couldn't think like that. Let go, he snarled, yanking his arm away. But even as he did, he missed her touch. She flinched at his tone but stood her ground. Come on, Dynamite. This is important. Can't you just email me that shit? He growled. We need to make sure everything is perfect before you take these out on patrol. Her eyes met his, determined and challenging. Fuck, she was hot when she got all fired up like this. Bakuga's resolve crumbled. He couldn't say no to her, not when she looked at him like that. It was pathetic how easily she could manipulate him. Fine, he spat, crossing his arms. But make it quick. I've got shit to do. Her face lit up with that brilliant fucking smile again, and Bakuga's heart skipped a beat. Goddamn it. He was so fucked. As she led him back to her workstation, chattering excitedly about the test results, Bakuga tried to ignore the warmth spreading through his chest. This was just work. Nothing more. He couldn't let himself get attached. But as he watched her eyes sparkle with enthusiasm, he knew it was already too late. He followed the nerd back to her office, his body still thrumming. The narrow space felt even smaller with both of them crammed inside. One step and his chest would graze the brat's back. He stared at her slim shoulders as she pulled up the test results on her computer. All right, she said, gesturing for him to come closer. Let's break this down. Bakugo grunted, leaning in to peer at the screen. Graphs and charts filled the display, a dizzying array of data points tracking every aspect of his quirk's output. See here? The nerd pointed to a particular spike in one of the graphs. This is where you really let loose with that final blast. The gauntlets handled the strain beautifully. Bakugo nodded, a smirk tugging at his lips. Told you they could take it. Yes, you're very impressive. Now look at this part. As she leaned in to indicate another section of the data, Bakugo caught a whiff of her scent. A mix of coffee, machine oil, and something uniquely her. It was fucking distracting. He shifted, trying to focus on the numbers in front of him. But his gaze kept drifting to her face, watching the way her eyes lit up as she explained the intricacies of the data. She was beautiful when she got all excited over numbers. Fucking nerd. Bakugo's eyes followed the movement of her hand as she reached for the mouse. His body tensed. He needed to feel her touch again. The brief contact when she'd grabbed his wrist earlier hadn't been enough. He craved more. Fuck, when had he become so pathetic? So needy? This wasn't him. He didn't pine after support nerds like some lovesick extra. But here he was, practically salivating at the thought of her fingers brushing against his skin. Bakugo shifted his weight, angling his body closer to hers. He let his hand drift towards the mouse, fingers splayed on the desk. Just a casual movement. Nothing suspicious about it. If she happened to touch him when she reached for the mouse, well, that was just an accident. Right? His heart raced as she leaned in, her arm extending. He held his breath, anticipating the moment of contact. Her skin was so close to his, mere millimeters separating them. The heat from her body radiated against him, setting his nerves on fire. Just a little closer. Come on, nerd. Touch me. Her fingers brushed against his as she grasped the mouse. For a moment, neither of them moved. The air between them seemed to crackle with tension. Bakugo just stared at her. All he needed to do was lean in and close what little distance remained between them. The nerd cleared her throat. Sorry, she mumbled, quickly pulling her hand back. Bakugo grunted, shoving his hands in his pockets. Whatever. Just finish explaining this shit. She nodded, turning back to the screen with a slight flush to her cheeks. Bakugo tried to focus on her words, but his mind kept replaying that brief moment of contact. What the fuck was wrong with him? Why did he want to keep touching her? But Bakugo's skin still tingled where she'd touched him. He wanted more. Needed more. This was fucking ridiculous. He was Katsuki Bakugo, the number 2 hero. He didn't get all worked up over accidental touches like some horny teenager. But as he watched her delicate fingers move across the keyboard, all he could think about was how those hands would feel running over his body. As the nerd wrapped up her explanation, Bakugo stared at her profile. The way her brow furrowed in concentration, the slight quirk of her lips as she got excited about some technical detail. And that's pretty much it, she finished, turning to face him. Any questions? Bakugo blinked, realizing he'd missed most of what she'd said. No, he grunted. Looks good. She raised an eyebrow, clearly not buying it. Really? Because I'm pretty sure I lost you about halfway through. Bakugo scowled. TCH. Not my fault you drone on forever about boring shit. Boring stuff that just helped you blow up a steel beam, I might add. Yeah, well. Bakugo trailed off, suddenly feeling awkward. He wasn't used to giving praise, but even he had to admit she'd done good work. You did alright, I guess. Her eyes widened in mock surprise, her hand poised over her chest. Was that a compliment? From the great Dynamite himself. Bakugo's lips curled into a wicked grin. He leaned in closer, invading her personal space. This was about to be a fucking bad idea. But fuck it. What's the matter, nerd? You want me to call you a good girl instead, sweetheart? Her brows shot up, a delicious blush spreading across her cheeks. What? No, You sure about that? Bakugo cooed. Because you're looking pretty flustered right now. The nerd sputtered, taking a step back. Her hip bumped against the desk, leaving her nowhere to retreat. Bakugo's grin widened. He fucking loved seeing her squirm like this. I'm not flustered, she protested weakly. You're just being ridiculous. Oh yeah, then why are you blushing, huh? You must really like it when I call you a good girl, Bakugo purred, leaning in even closer. Their faces were inches apart now. He could feel the heat radiating off her skin, could smell her, could almost fucking taste her. Is that it, nerd? You want to be a good girl? Want to be my good girl? He almost asked. The nerd made a strangled sound, somewhere between a gasp and a whimper. Her eyes were wide, darting between Bakugo's eyes and his lips. He could practically taste her desire. You're insane, she whispered. Bakugo's eyes locked onto her flushed cheek. He needed to touch her so much it was making his palm itch. Before he could stop himself, his hand moved of its own accord. His gloved fingers grazed her cheek. She gasped. His hand slid down to her neck, his thumb resting lightly against her pulse point. He could feel her heart racing beneath his touch. Maybe, he growled. But you fucking love it, don't you? The nerd swallowed hard, her throat bobbing against his palm. You should go, she managed, her voice breathy and weak. We're done here. Bakuga smirked. Like hell he was leaving now. Not when things were just getting interesting. Nah, I don't think so, he said, his free hand coming to rest on her hip. I'm pretty comfortable right where I am. He was fucking insane, he had to be doing this shit with the nerd. But he was done waiting for her to make a move. He just needed to touch her, get his fix, and he would be fine. He could feel the heat of her skin through the thin fabric of her shirt. His fingers itched to slip beneath the hem, to explore the soft curves hidden underneath. But he held back, content for now to watch her squirm beneath his touch. Dynamite, please, she breathed, her eyes fluttering shut. This isn't, we shouldn't. Shouldn't what? He challenged, his lips brushing against the shell of her ear. Tell me what you want, nerd. Use your words like a good girl. The nerd shuddered, her hands coming up to grip his biceps. Whether she meant to push him away or pull him closer, Bakuga couldn't tell. And from the conflicted look on her face, she wasn't sure either. I don't, she stammered. Bakuga's lips curled into a predatory grin as he leaned in closer. The nerd was putty in his hands. He could practically taste her. Just a little more, and she'd be begging for. A sharp knock at the door shattered the moment. His first instinct was to jump back, to put distance between them before whoever was at the door could see. But fuck that. Let them see. Let the whole damn world see him with his hands on her. He tightened his grip on her hip. But then her palms pressed against his chest, shoving him away with surprising force. TCH. He stepped away, giving the nerd space. Fuck, Bakuga snarled. The nerd stumbled, catching herself on the edge of the desk. Her face was flushed, hair mussed, and Bakuga grinned. She looked fucking delectable, all wide-eyed and breathless. Bakuga's jaw clenched as another sharp knock echoed through the small office. Fucking perfect timing. He glared at the door, willing whoever was on the other side to fuck off. The nerd scrambled to compose herself, smoothing down her hair and shirt with trembling hands. Her face was still flushed, lips slightly parted as she tried to catch her breath. See, come in, she called out, her voice cracking. The door swung open, revealing the nerd's boss, Nakamura or some shit. Her eyes scanned the room, gaze flicking between the hero and the support tech. Is everything all right in here? She asked. TCH fine, Bakuga grunted, crossing his arms. The nerd nodded a bit too enthusiastically, practically diving for her computer. Why yes. Just, going over the final test results. The woman's eyes lingered on the nerd for a moment longer before turning to Bakuga with a saccharine smile. Wonderful. I was hoping to catch you before you left, Dynamite. I wanted to discuss the incredible performance we saw today. Bakuga's eye twitched. Great. More ass-kissing from this extra. The way you handled those gauntlets was simply phenomenal, the boss gushed, stepping further into the office. The already cramped space felt suffocating now. Your control, your power, it's clear why you're the number 2 hero. TCH, obviously, Bakuga scoffed. He caught the nerd rolling her eyes behind her boss's back, and had to fight back a smirk. Nakamura continued, either oblivious to or ignoring Bakuga's disinterest. The data we collected today will be invaluable for future hero support gear development. Your contributions to the field cannot be overstated, Dynamite. Bakuga's patience, already razor-thin, was rapidly evaporating. He didn't need this nobody telling him how great he was. He already fucking knew that. His gaze drifted to the nerd, hunched over her computer. She was pointedly avoiding looking at him, but he could see the tension in her shoulders. Was she embarrassed? Angry? Turned on? Yeah. Bakuga cut her off mid-praise. The gauntlets work. Great. Are we done here? Oh, well, I was hoping we could discuss the possibility of further collaboration. Perhaps a more long-term partnership between you and our agency. Bakuga's lip curled. The thought of spending more time around the nerd, constantly fighting this weird tension between them, was both tempting and fucking terrifying. I'll think about it, he growled, which was more consideration than he usually gave these corporate types. She beamed. Excellent. We'll draw up some proposals and dash. His jaw clenched as the annoying woman droned on, her shrill voice grating on his last nerve. He kept his eyes fixed on the nerd, watching the way she fidgeted under his gaze. Her cheeks were still flushed, a delicious pink that made him want to taste her skin. Finally, after what felt like fucking eternity, the boss bitch wrapped up her inane chatter. Well, I'll leave you two to finish up, she chirped, heading for the door. Dynamite, it's been a pleasure having you here at Tech Nexus. Bakuga grunted, not bothering to look at her. His eyes were still locked on the nerd, drinking in every subtle shift of her body. The door clicked shut, leaving them alone once more. The silence stretched between them, thick with tension. Bakuga could practically taste the nerd's nervousness, could see it in the way she clutched her tablet like a shield. Good. The nerd fumbled with her tablet, her fingers trembling slightly. She was trying so hard to act normal, but he could see right through her bullshit. We're, done here, she coughed out. You can go now. If you have any issues with the gauntlets, just email me. A smirk tugged at Bakuga's lips. No fucking way he was leaving. What's the matter, nerd? Eager to get rid of me. She rolled her eyes, some of that familiar fire returning to her gaze. Please. I just have actual work to do, unlike some people who get paid to blow stuff up. TCH. You're just jealous you're stuck in this shitty office all day. At least I don't smell like a walking nitroglycerin factory, she retorted, wrinkling her nose. Bakuga's grin widened. There she was. The mouthy little brat, who'd been driving him crazy for weeks. He'd missed this, the back and forth, the challenge in her eyes. You weren't complaining about how I smelled a few minutes ago, he purred, taking a step closer. In fact, I seem to remember you getting pretty fucking close. The nerd's eyes widened, a pretty blush spreading across her cheeks. That was... I mean, you were the one who... The one who what? Bakuga pressed. Come on, nerd. Use your words. She swallowed hard, her gaze darting between his eyes and his lips. Bakuga's skin buzzed with anticipation. Just a little more and she'd crack. He'd have her pinned against that desk, begging. But then something shifted in her eyes. A spark of defiance ignited and she spun around, giving her back to him. You know what, Dynamite? She snapped, her voice dripping with sarcasm. I think you're the one who can't get enough. Always coming back here, picking fights, getting in my space. Maybe you're the one who's begging for attention. This fucking brat. Heat surged through him. Anger, arousal, he couldn't tell the difference anymore. The fuck did you just say to me? He growled, taking a menacing step forward. The nerd didn't back down. If anything, she seemed to grow bolder, squaring her shoulders and meeting his glare head-on. You heard me, she shot back. Now, if you're done with your little power play, I've got actual work to do. Unlike some people who just stand around looking pretty and blowing stuff up. Bakuga's jaw clenched. This mouthy little brat had some fucking nerve. His cock twitched. Pretty, huh? He smirked, crowding her against the desk. That what you think of me, nerd? Been checking me out? She rolled her eyes, but Bakuga didn't miss the way her breath hitched when he got close. As if. Now seriously, you need to leave. I've got deadlines to meet. Make me, Bakuga challenged. What are you, 5? Get out of my office, Dynamite. Nah, I don't think I will, he drawled, enjoying the way her cheeks flushed with frustration. I'm pretty comfortable right here. God, you're insufferable, she groaned, trying to sidestep around him. Bakuga blocked her path, grinning wickedly. You love it. I do not, she protested. Liar, Bakuga accused, leaning in closer. He could smell her shampoo, something citrusy and fresh. It was intoxicating. Admit it, nerd. You'd be bored as fuck without me around to keep things interesting. She scoffed but didn't pull away. Please. My life was perfectly fine before you came barging in here with your ridiculous demands and your stupid hair. Oi, the fuck's wrong with my hair? Bakuga growled, unconsciously running a hand through his spikes. The nerd's eyes followed the movement, lingering a moment too long. Bakuga's grin widened. Gotcha. Nothing, she said quickly. Too quickly. It's just very you. Very me, huh? Bakuga purred, closing the distance between them even further. And what exactly does that mean? The nerd smirked. It means you look like an angry porcupine had a love child with a bottle of hair gel. Bakuga's eye twitched. This fucking brat. Heat surged through him, a volatile mix of anger and arousal that made his palms itch. He wanted to grab her, to shut that smart mouth up. The fuck did you just say to me? He growled, leaning in closer. His body caged her against the desk, trapping her between his arms. She didn't flinch. If anything, the fire in her eyes burned brighter. You heard me, porcupine. Or do those spikes interfere with your hearing too? Bakuga's fingers curled into fists at his sides. This mouthy little shit. His cock twitched, straining against the confines of his hero suit. You got a death wish or something, nerd? He snarled, voice low and dangerous. Because you're really fucking pushing it. She rolled her eyes. Please. We both know you're all bark and no bite, Dynamite. The use of his hero name in that mocking tone sent a jolt of electricity down his spine. He leaned in closer, close enough to feel the heat radiating off her skin. You sure about that? Maybe you need a demonstration. For a moment something flashed in her eyes, want, need, fucking desire. Bakuga's heart raced. He had her. Just a little more and she'd crack. But then the moment passed. The nerd's jaw set, that familiar stubbornness taking over. You know what? I don't have time for this. If you're not going to leave, then I will. She tried to duck under his arm, but Bakuga was faster. He grabbed her wrist, spinning her back to face him. The sudden movement threw her off balance, sending her crashing against his chest. Fuck. She felt so good like this. Every nerve ending felt like it was on fire. He could feel the softness of her curves, the rapid rise and fall of her chest as she tried to catch her breath. She tilted her head up, eyes wide and searching. Those damn eyes of hers, always challenging him, always seeing right through his bullshit. It pissed him off. It turned him on. I need to go, she stammered. You need to go. Bakuga's jaw clenched. Nah. Not when he finally had her exactly where he wanted her. Why? He growled, his free hand coming to rest on her hip. The nerd swallowed hard, her throat bobbing. Bakuga's eyes tracked the movement, suddenly overcome with the urge to taste her skin. To mark her. To make her his. We're done with the gauntlets, she announced. You don't have to be here anymore. Bullshit. Bakuga's grip tightened on her hip. He could feel her pulse racing beneath his fingers, could see the flush creeping up her neck. She wanted this just as much as he did. That's so, he purred, leaning in closer. His lips brushed against the shell of her ear as he spoke. Funny, 'cause it seems like we're just getting started. The nerd shuddered, her hands coming up to press against his chest. Finally, she was finally going to give in to whatever this was. But then she shoved hard, breaking free. The fuck? No, she said, her voice firmer now. This isn't right. You're my client. This was supposed to be business. Her eyes found his. Just business. Rage and frustration surged through Bakugo. His jaw clenched, his teeth grinding together as he glared at the nerd. Her words felt like a fucking slap to the face. Just business? Bullshit, he snarled, taking a menacing step forward. You expect me to believe that's all this was? Just fucking business? I'm sorry for what happened, she said, her voice trembling slightly. It wasn't professional of me. I shouldn't have let things go that far. Bakuga's hands sparked, small explosions popping in his palms. He didn't buy her act for a second. He'd felt the way she responded to his touch, saw the desire in her eyes. Cut the crap, he growled. You can't seriously think I'm buying this bullshit. But the nerd just shook her head, her expression maddeningly calm. Dynamite, please. This was just a business arrangement. You're a client, nothing more. We got caught up in the moment, but it can't happen again. Each word felt like a fucking knife twisting in his gut. Bakuga's vision blurred red at the edges. He wanted to grab her, to shake her until she admitted the truth. A client, he spat, his voice dripping with venom. That's all I am to you? The nerd's eyes softened, and for a moment, Bakuga thought he saw a flicker of regret. But then it was gone, replaced by that infuriating professional mask. Yes, she said firmly. That's all this was. Just business. Bakuga's vision blurred red. Rage boiled in his veins. Her words echoed in his head, each syllable stoking the flames of his anger. Just business? Fucking bullshit. Fine, he snarled, whirling around. If that's how you want it, we're fucking done here. He stomped towards the door. His hands sparked and smoked, itching to blow something up. Let her have her precious fucking professionalism. He didn't need this shit. But as his fingers closed around the doorknob, a thought struck him. His lips curled into a wicked grin. Oh, this fucking brat wanted to play games? Fine. He'd play her fucking game. Bakugo turned back, his expression carefully schooled into cool indifference. You know what? You're right, he drawled, leaning against the doorframe. This was just business. Ah yes? Exactly. And as professionals, Bakugo continued, his voice dripping with false sincerity, we should celebrate the successful completion of our contract. What? No, that's not. Come on, nerd, he pressed, enjoying the way she squirmed. It's what professionals do, right? Go out for drinks after closing a big deal. The nerd's jaw clenched. He could practically see the gears turning in that big brain of hers, trying to find a way out of the trap he'd laid. I don't think that would be appropriate, she stammered. Bakuga's grin widened. Got her. Oh, and why's that? It's just a professional courtesy, after all. Nothing more. She glared at him, clearly catching on to his game. Dynamite, I really don't think. What's the matter, nerd? He taunted, taking a step closer. Afraid you can't handle a few drinks with the number 2 hero? Or maybe. He leaned in, his voice dropping to a husky whisper. You're worried you won't be able to keep things professional once you get me alone outside of work? The nerd's cheeks flushed a beautiful shade of pink. Bakuga's cock twitched. Fuck, he wanted to taste that blush, to feel the heat of her skin beneath his lips. Soon. That's ridiculous, she sputtered. I have other commitments. Bakuga scoffed. Bullshit. It's Friday night. What could you possibly have going on that's more important than celebrating with a client? She opened her mouth to argue, but Bakugo cut her off. You know, it wouldn't be very professional of you to decline, he purred, enjoying her sneer. After all, maintaining good client relations is part of the job, isn't it? The nerd's jaw clenched, and for a moment, Bakuga thought she might actually tell him to fuck off. But then her shoulders slumped in defeat. Fine, she gritted out. 1 drink. That's it. Fuck yes. He'd won this round, and they both knew it. Great, he smirked, already imagining all the ways he could get under her skin once he got her alone. I'll pick you up at 8. Without waiting for a response, he turned and sauntered out of the office, leaving the flustered nerd in his wake. As the door clicked shut behind him, Bakugo allowed himself a moment of savage satisfaction. Game fucking on, nerd.